Something big is happening in Kenya. The handshake is beginning to be indicative, and the handshakes are becoming more. A pattern is beginning to emerge, and you can now ask the question and perhaps answer. Was there a deal on the 9th of March, or there was no deal? Was it just about Raila, so that Uhuru contained Raila and perhaps took care of him? Or was there a deal? If there was no deal, and that Uhuru simply took care of Raila, then questions are beginning to emerge. Does Raila remember Baby Pendo? Does Raila remember Mora? Does he remember Master Mutinda? People then will be asking, does the name Miguna Miguna ring a bell to Raila? Does he remember somebody called Musando? So if this was just about Raila, many questions will be asked, including the betrayal of Mudavadi, Kalonzo and Wetangula, including the betrayal of many Kenyans who had faith in him. Many people will be asking whether Raila remembers that there were many Kenyans willing to cross the River Jordan despite there being many crocodiles in that river. But let's assume that is wrong. And then we go to the next possibility, that indeed there was a deal. If there was a deal, this is a big thing. I've said it before. There must be a name somewhere in that deal. A man or woman, preferably a man, I suspect, who will become president of Kenya in 2022, to ensure that this country starts a path of rediscovery, a path of promise, and that will usher in a Kenya that the founding fathers would be proud of. If this is the case, I want to examine the deal and advise some of the players who may not benefit from this deal. If indeed there is a deal and there's somebody to take over in 2022 who is in some envelope, if that name is not William Samoei Ruto, it is going to be very difficult for Ruto to succeed the president. I'll come to this a little later. But I also want to point out that if indeed there's a deal, there's going to be betrayal and there are going to be sacrifices. Already, there are telltale signs that Kafogo and perhaps Peter Munya are going to be the people who will call the shots in the Mount Kenya region, thereby throwing people like Babayao and the rest of those strong men and women in Central under the bus. From Western Kenya, the presence of George Munyasha Haneri, the Senator of Vihiga, at Moi's Kabarak home with Raila Odinga could be indicative of what is going to happen in Western Kenya, where Wetangula and Mudavadi are likely to be sacrificed and George Haneri promoted to the national limelight. The presence of Nasir from the coast at Kabarak could also be indicative that the unlikely could happen and that Joho could be due for sacrifice so that Nasir becomes a kingpin. This is no idle thinking, because appearing on a TV station, on a talk show, Nasir was asked whether he will stand for presidency and whether he's going to Kabarak meant he's now a kingpin of the coast. What did he say? Nasir said that the people of the coast will definitely produce a presidential candidate. And instead of saying it will automatically be Joho, he said this will be subjected to some form of selection, a process where perhaps he, Joho, Kingi and the rest would participate. That is indicative of the fact that perhaps Kingman Joho is being sacrificed. So we are going to have a lot of sacrifices. We are going to have people fattened for the sacrifice. The Duales and the Murkumens of this country must be prepared to be sacrificed. Now, let's talk about William Ruto. There are those who argue that once he's not in that envelope, he's done. But there are also those who argue when the three families get together and tell Kenyans that we are going to be ruled by only three families, then Ruto could be a candidate of the weak Kenyans, of the hustler nation. This is a little tricky because Ruto has propelled himself from a hustler to a billionaire. He's hanging in between the top class, the rulers, the aristocrats, and the hustlers down here where we are. So that's a very precarious position for him. But I also want to warn those who may wish to write off Ruto. Ruto is smart, he's hardworking. In fact, if you look for the most hardworking Kenyans, you'll find Ruto where Raila and Moi are. People who never sleep, people whose energy is never exhausted. He's also smart, he's generous, he makes friends very easily. But unfortunately, when the big boys want to sacrifice you, you need a little more than that. So my advice pro bono to William Ruto is he would play smart. He should be surrounded by intelligent men and women who will read every move from the three. So that, for example, I would advise him never to fall into the trap that may be thrown his way. For example, why do you think Raila could have gone to Moi's home? Maybe this is to irritate Ruto, to smoke him out of his school. And if he did that, he will then give these three the excuse to throw him under the bus. So my advice to him is play smart, get the advice and counsel of intelligent men and women, read every move from these three, and you have a chance of survival. But I cannot end this video without saying that we must give this handshake a chance, irrespective of what deal is in place. So long as Kenyans stand to benefit, we must give it a chance. We need this peace. The few days we have had it from 9th of March have shown us it is something we need as a country.